Hello and welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode number 328, the International News Edition, and today we're going to start here with some good news. Where officials report that the dangerous Darien Gap that connects Colombia to Panama on that 2,600-mile trek for illegal aliens from South America to the United States is basically closed and traffic has dropped to near zero. Panama vowed to close the gap plus in conjunction with Trump's immigration policies, have basically ended it. Two street preachers, since kicked out of Ontario, have surfaced in British Columbia up in Canada and now find themselves in hot water for committing a hate crime. Apparently, they harass women about how to behave and dress as the women attend church. That's a hate crime. Well, Big Brother is watching in Britain. A COVID-era law is being used to monitor social media postings for anyone who criticizes the government and their migrant problems or complains about two-tier policing or hotels where migrants are kept. It's called the Counter-Disinformation Unit. Internal government documents and emails indicate that the government in Great Britain may suppress any online speech they deem dangerous. As one example, someone posted a protester flying a Pakistani flag. The government, according to emails, considers posting this picture as inciting violence against Muslims. Maybe the flag flyers shouldn't be waving the Pakistani flag in England. It's also been reported that Great Britain has launched a national Internet Intelligence Investigations team to further monitor online speech. And then Britain gets in a huff when Vance or Trump criticize them for threatening free speech. A man in Manchester, England was arrested for having a trowel and hedge shearing sickle while cutting hedges in his own garden. Someone spotted him walking down the street with these supposed weapons as he returned from a community garden. I mean, England's really getting weird. But then you have this. A grooming gang abuser, since released from jail, has been arrested again, this time for using social media to harass one of his victims, telling her that she wanted it, and other such statements. The name of the perpetrator is never published, but rest assured, they're Muslim. In Scotland, they have 653 foreign nationals behind bars. Fully 40% of them come from three countries, Albania, Poland, and Vietnam. Also, 1 in 5 Somalis in Scotland are in jail, and 1 in 4 Eritreans. And this is what diversity breeds. It's not a strength, but a strain on your prisons. But now comes news that foreign nationals account for 1 in 8 prisoners in England and Wales also. In June 2025, the number of foreign nationals in jail in England and Wales for sexual offenses reached an all-time high at 1,731. All perverts, all mostly like Muslims. This is Catalin Gansu, not a very British-sounding name. He doesn't look very British either. He was sentenced to over a year in prison for running up to a 6-year-old and kicking her in the head. Fleeing the scene, a woman tried to help him by getting him a glass of water, whereupon he punched her in the face, and then a cop in the stomach. Diversity, people, that's diversity. Between 1997 and 2013, about 1,400 children were sexually abused in Rotherham. Most of the perpetrators were Pakistani men who would drug and then gang rape the girls, some as young as 11 years old. Now comes word that some members of the South Yorkshire Police Force may have worked hand in hand with the gangs of horny Pakistanis and may have even gotten in a few rapes themselves. It's truly sick. And guess what the most popular name for a boy in England and Wales is? If you said Mohammed, you win the prize. Mohammed. That's a truly British name dating back to, never. Not to be done by Rotherham, these two Pakistani pieces of shit, leaders of a grooming gang in Rochdale, may be headed back to Pakistan, even though they renounced their Pakistani citizenship. Why would they keep that citizenship from Pakistan when there's perfectly healthy young English girls under the age of 18 to rape? Four-poster beds, a buffet-style restaurant, and rooms with video consoles can all be yours at a British hotel, and the government will even pay for it. Assuming you're an asylum seeker from some shithole country. Luxury living. No wonder they renounce their citizenship. All this and young English girls to rape. Who wouldn't jump at that chance? This is John Edwards, a town councillor in Berkshire. He made the mistake of asking whether 400 asylum seekers from Afghanistan staying in a hotel would affect local residents on a housing waiting list. Bad move. He is now under investigation for spreading hate. Retired Colonel Richard Kemp in Great Britain recently went public with the view that the British and other European countries were well aware that Israel is not committing war crimes in Gaza. Instead, he said they feared backlash from the growing Muslim communities in their countries. He also said Macron and Starmer's pipe dream of a two-state solution is hogwash. The guy speaks truth to power. All right, well, this is Felix Winter. Well, that's the name it goes by because that's really a girl. Well, now this obvious young lady is going to jail for over 6 years for planning a Columbine-style attack on a school in England or Scotland. This being Scotland, and they're notorious for their trans rights activism, I have to question men or women's prison. I say women. She has the plumbing. Cars manufactured in Great Britain may now have to be fitted with black box style recorders and other safety equipment to conform with EU safety standards. Some car makers make their products strictly for the British market. Those who pushed Brexit are stating the obvious. Why are we complying with them? As of October of this year, Meta, which has such platforms as Facebook and Instagram, will cease all political ads and ads on social issues on their platforms in the European Union. Onerous new regulations designed to stop foreign influence in elections is the reason given for those regulations. While in Scotland, Trump advised Europe to get their immigration act together lest they lose Europe, and as many of these stories indicate, the man has a point. Also, while in Scotland, Trump managed to hammer out the framework for a trade agreement with the European Union. Of course, Eurotrash like Macron and others are crying about it, but tough luck. It's looking like across the board 15% bilateral tariffs with some exemptions. Some are saying Trump took the EU to the woodshed, and they may just be correct. In Holland, a Muslim woman was caught on film stealing flowers from a gravesite in a cemetery, which is really low class. I mean, it looks like stealing a kid's money at the lemonade stand. The Dutch citizens didn't take lightly, and kids on scooters and adults in cars started throwing eggs at the Muslim woman's house, causing police to restore order. And the moral of the story is, if you're a Muslim woman in Holland, leave flowers alone in a cemetery. A Dutch court, let me get them all in here. A Dutch court has sentenced a man to 5 years in prison for, get this, stabbing his girlfriend 258 times in front of her newborn baby. He then filmed her dead body with her phone and took a selfie with the baby. 5 years because the judge says he was psychotic at the time and possibly retarded. I think he should get 1 year for every stab wound. To ease prison overcrowding in Belgium, many prisoners have been released. One such person is Mirsad H., a Muslim from Kosovo. He was in prison for physical abuse against his wife. Soon after his release, he contacted his wife and set her on fire in front of their 6 children. The wife is fighting for her life in a burn center in an induced coma. Backlash is brewing in the French culinary world over a new law which reauthorized the use of a previously banned pesticide. It was banned in 2018 in France. The pesticide is not banned elsewhere in the European Union. Farmers are saying it is necessary to stay competitive, while the chefs there say they're here to feed, not poison people. It's Attack of the French Chefs. It'll be a Disney classic. Authorities in both France and Spain are investigating the removal of 44 minors and 8 adults from a flight from Spain to France. The airline said they were tampering with emergency equipment and interfering with flight attendants. The problem is that all 52 were Jewish, and they're claiming they were kicked off the flight because of their religion. I personally think they were just acting like jerks. France is moving to fast-track a new law that would require the nation to give up artifacts obtained from former colonies, mainly in Africa. This should be easy. One museum in Paris contains 90% of all the artifacts taken from former French colonies in Africa. Long-term nursing home care costs has skyrocketed in Germany to about $3,800 a month. As of December 2023, 5 million people were in need of care, and the problem is made worse by increasing German life expectancy. Maybe kick some migrants out of their hotels and use them for the elderly. The German government approved a draft budget plan for 2026 worth 520.5 billion euros. The plan calls for increased spending for infrastructure and defense. It came with a warning that come 2027, Germans should expect some austerity measures. This, as it was reported that German GDP decreased 0.1% in the second quarter of this year. Amid rising concerns about pressures on public services, the government has stepped in and ended a program in Berlin that allows Syrians, Afghans, and Iraqis to privately sponsor family members for entry into Berlin. Throughout Germany, there are over 1 million family reunifications and 40,000 in Berlin alone. Speaking of Berlin, officials there are warning of a spike in forced marriages. As schools let out, it appears that many young girls will be sent abroad in arranged marriage. In 2022, there were 500 known cases of forced marriages, and they'll likely increase as more foreigners enter Germany. But hey, that's diversity for you. Germany faces a shortage of high-skilled and low-skilled workers now. Many businesses are insisting the only way to overcome the labor shortage is through immigration of laborers. Now, that's all well and good, but when they don't leave, besides placing a strain on your services, there's a lack of integration and assimilation. Same thing happens here. And here's a case in point. A German court in Potsdam recently acquitted a 23-year-old migrant from Guinea because they said he suffered from paranoid schizophrenia. He arrived in Germany in 2016. He slit the throat of his neighbor and stabbed another woman. German police arrested a 29-year-old man from Somalia who entered the country illegally. He had been wanted in Italy for kidnapping and torturing migrants in Libya. And murdering a child by slitting her throat because she refused his sexual advances. And then he filmed the incident to blackmail the girl's family. And this is how it starts. Muslim groups in Germany are demanding that Islamic religious instruction in schools across the country be instituted. Like the United States, Europe, not the Europe being overtaken by Muslims, it's largely Christian. It's also based on Western culture, not medieval or Stone Age conceptions like Islam. 7 months after riots erupted in Berlin on New Year's Eve, prosecutors have secured guilty verdicts in exactly 2 cases, despite over 670 suspects having been identified. In a similar incident in 2022, there were 145 arrests, but get this, only 40 of them were German citizens. One of the 2 sentenced this year, a Palestinian with a Jordanian passport, received a 1-year suspended sentence, angering the police and citizens alike. A 56-year-old Syrian doctor in Germany was sentenced to over 4 years in prison. His crime was he lured a 14-year-old girl to his office and raped her. The good doctor denied the rape charge, saying that the sexual contact was consensual. But then raping a teenager is consensual to perverted Muslim men. And it appears that loneliness is becoming a major problem among German youth, with "how do I find friends" being one of the most common questions asked. Well, first stay out of chat rooms, because that's where that horny, perverted Syrian doctor met his victim. But it could be worse, because it appears that The wolf population, especially in the northern part of Germany, is at a point where authorities may allow limited hunting of the animal. They count 209 wolf packs and over 1,600 wolves, so yay for German wolves. A foreign-born Muslim man in Austria is livid when his request that his wife be treated by all females was rejected by a hospital in Salzburg. He wants a written apology and demands that his culture and religious beliefs be recognized throughout the country. Yeah, just, next time, just let your wife die. Anyway, Alice Weidel, head of Germany's AfD party, the archenemy of the liberal Euro-trash globalists, recently praised the Hungarian government of Viktor Orban for being the only European country to stand up to Brussels and the EU. Ukrainian seasonal workers at strawberry farms in western Finland are decrying the fact that they're overworked and underpaid and often poorly treated. It could be worse. They could be child labor at a pot farm in California. The Buddhist community in Finland now has the largest monastery in all of the Nordic countries. The new temple and monastery contains more than 100,000 mantras, relics, and other sacred objects. Over 300 monks, lamas, and nuns are expected for the consecration ceremony in August. Buddhists or Muslims? Gotta go with the Buddhists here. And in good news out of Finland, they have so far deported over 1,300 foreigners from that country. That represents a 30% increase over the same time period last year. This is due to an increased emphasis on immigration enforcement. Most of the deportees are from Estonia and Romania. Osama Krayem was sentenced to life in jail by a Swedish court for the brutal murder of a Jordanian pilot at the hands of ISIS. The pilot was shot down, then in a viral video, placed in a cage and burned alive. Krayem is from Malmö, Sweden, and had traveled to Syria to fight with the ISIS crazies. Speaking of Syria, Russia and Syria signaled Thursday they would bolster ties and review agreements made under the previous pro-Moscow government of Bashar al-Assad amid uncertainty over the future of two Russian military bases in the country. Russia's top diplomat met with his Syrian counterpart in Moscow, marking the first time a high-ranking Syrian official visited Russia since Assad's ouster. Russian state television recently ran an editorial that declared no Ukrainian should be left alive. The editorial described Ukrainian soldiers as laboratory rats. I guess it doesn't have to do with protecting Russian speakers in Ukraine after all, right, Russia? But you have to wonder what the hell that Russian army is doing out there in the field. Since their invasion of Ukraine, the incidence of AIDS among the Russian military has risen over 2,000%. Some of this is attributed to reused syringes and blood transfusions, but come on, what the hell are they fucking over there? Pigs? I mean, come on. And speaking of Ukraine, Russian airstrikes throughout the country killed more than 25 civilians. A prison and hospital were struck in the attacks. Yeah, they're nice guys. And to prove that Greece is getting serious about the migrants showing up in Crete, they're being denied asylum and being transported to detention centers on the mainland. Sorry you made that trip from Libya, but enough is enough. And Europe should be giving them a thanks because a lot of migrants who end up in Germany or England originally entered Europe through Greece. Demonstrators showed up in Crete when an Israeli cruise ship arrived with the usual Free Palestine chants, signs, flags, and, garb. Greece is a popular tourist site for Israelis. This is the third such protest against an Israeli cruise ship. Police kept the demonstrators away, although some scuffles occurred with the cops, and at least 2 people were arrested. In Nigeria, bandits kidnapped 56 people from a village and demanded a ransom of about $650 per person. That's like a fortune over there in Nigeria. After receiving the money, they released 17 women and 1 young boy. The rest, they were killed. 3 of the released women gave birth while in captivity, but the babies died from lack of care. And in Congo, rebels with the Allied Defense Forces, an Islamic group closely associated with what remains of ISIS, managed to kill at least 35 people as they attended a celebration at their Catholic church. The jihadists cut off the roads and killed people fleeing the melee. Most of the victims were hacked to death with machetes. U.S. singer and Grammy Award winner Ciara is proud, or Ciara, whatever. Ciara is proud to announce that she became a proud citizen of Benin, some small little shithole African country. Apparently, your citizenship has to be somehow connected to slavery or something. So, whoopee for Ciara. Riots in Angola have taken the lives of 5 people, including a police officer. What do you think this is? Minneapolis? Unlike Minneapolis, over 1,200 people have been arrested for starting fires and looting. The protest started as a 3-day strike by angry taxi drivers over the cost of gasoline. And finally, meet Asangafak Derek Mayuobi. He was caught trying to enter the United States and Minnesota at the border from Canada. He hails from the African country of Cameroon. He had previously been deported after illegally crossing the border from Mexico. However, he was granted temporary protection status under Biden, where he was arrested for domestic assault. That time, he had a fake green card. Previous to this arrest, he was turned away at the Canadian border on another occasion. So he is a persistent little fellow, but ICE was waiting this time in the court, and he may be on his way to Cameroon by now. And that's it. Have a great day and a more pleasant tomorrow.